All right. This is going to be objective 3-4. We're going to move into factoring trinomials. Okay, right now, how many ways do we know to factor? What's one way we know to factor? GCF. What's the other way we know to factor? Difference of two squares. Okay, because as I add on new types, new ways to factor, you can't forget what we already know, because what gets confusing on the test, like factoring is not hard. What gets hard is when I give you the test and it has all the different ways and they're all mixed up, and you got to, right, you need to know, you got to be able to look at a problem and say, this is the way I'm going to factor it, you know? So today should be pretty easy. We're going to do two types of trinomials. There's some that are a little bit easier, and then there's some that I call them advanced trinomials. It's like the difference of going from like a 100-piece puzzle to like 500-piece puzzle. Does that make sense? It's the same process, right? Do you put a puzzle together no matter how many pieces it has? Yes. But, you know, when it gets to be an advanced trinomial, there's just more pieces, more parts to it. So it's not really harder. It's the same thing. So, but today we're going to stick with the easy ones. And you know an easy trinomial when A is equal to 1, okay? And when I say A, that means the number in front of the x squared. The number in the very front, the leading coefficient, is going to be, there's going to be a 1 right there, okay? That's how you know what type of trinomial that we are looking at today, okay? Any questions on that? So if I was looking at this trinomial, it might say something like this. X squared plus 3x plus 2. Does that make sense? A, B, and C are the coefficients or the constants, the numbers in front of the variables. So is there a 1 in front of the x squared? Yes, it's understood to be a 1 right there. So that's the type of trinomial that we are going to be looking at today. Okay? Should be easy peasy. All right, so before we actually get into factoring, let's talk about what we have here, okay? So if I asked you to work this out, what kind of problem is this? It's a yellow problem. It's a FOIL problem. Very good. It's a binomial times a binomial. So this is going to be what, guys? If we're going to work on breaking it down, and then, of course, we got to what? Put it back together. This is going to end up being our check step. But here's the thing. You got to understand how the pieces and the parts of FOIL work together, okay? So tell me what we would multiply first. X times x, which would be x squared. Then what? Your x and your 4, which would be 4x. Then 3 times x, which would be 3x. And then 3 times 4, which would be 12. Okay? And then what? You're going to combine your 4x and your 3x, and you're going to get a 7x in the middle. So tell me, if we work in reverse of this, okay, I want to be able to break it apart. You with me? So first of all, trinomials are going to break into two binomials. You with me on that? Okay, let's think about this. First times first is going to give me which piece up here? It's going to give me this piece. There's your F, okay, your first. So what times what is x squared? X times x. And then whatever number I put here, last times last, is going to give me which piece? Let's think about it. How did I get the 12? By multiplying the last times the last. You with me? And that gave me the 12. Okay? So whatever I put here in these two blanks has to multiply to be 12. How did I get the 7? Where did it come from? We added the two numbers. Okay, repeat after me. Multiply to be the last. Add to be the middle. Multiply to be the last. Add to be the middle. Multiply to be the last. Add to be the middle. Okay, so we want to think of numbers, and sometimes you guys may recognize this. Anybody recognize our MA chart? Anybody done that before? Yes, you should have in Algebra 1. Okay, no matter who you had for Algebra 1, you probably did an MA chart of some sort. Okay, MA, M stands for multiply, and add stands for, oh yeah, add stands for add. A stands for add. Okay, all right, so tell me, we're multiplying to be what number? 12, and we're adding to be 7. So what we're going to do down this chart is we're going to come up with things that multiply to be 12. Like, for example, you got 12 and 1, correct? You got 2 and 6. You got 3 and 4. You with me so far? Okay. So if I added 12 and 1, what would you get? 13. That's not going to work because we're trying to get 7. If we added 2 and 6, we get, that's not going to work. But if you add 3 and 4, you get 7. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner. Chicken dinner. Okay? So 3 and 4 are going to be the numbers that you want. Okay? So you're going to want to put in a +3 and a +4. Not a +3 and a +3. A +3 and a +4. Okay? And that's how you get your factors. What's one of the factors? X plus 3. What's the other factor? X plus 4. Okay? And then from there, you're going to FOIL it back together, which we did in the beginning already, to get your question. Okay? So let's actually look at another one. Okay? So first of all, I'm trying to prepare you for test day. These are the 3 ways we know to factor right now, correct? How do I know on test day that I'm not going to use GCF? But you can actually do a GCF in a trinomial if it... Is there a number that can go into all 3 terms? Nothing other than 1. Does each of them have an X? So it doesn't have a GCF. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's where it gets confusing. You might see trinomials that have GCFs. We're probably going to look at some a little bit later today. Okay? But this is how you know that we're not going to use GCF for this particular problem because it doesn't have a GCF. Okay? Is it a difference subtracting 2 perfect squares? No, we're not subtracting 2 perfect squares. You with me? So then I say, okay, is it a trinomial? And so that's how you're going to factor this. Trinomials break into 2 binomials. Okay? And we're going to work this like a puzzle. Okay? Tell me when I know y'all don't do puzzles. Kids today don't do puzzles anymore. But if you did do a puzzle, puzzles are really good for y'all, by the way. It's good for your brain. How do you do it? What do you do? Do you do the whole thing?
No, you just gotta look at it.
Okay, so you do one piece at a time, but generally we do what first? The border. Y'all do the edges first, and then you fill in the middle. So here's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to focus on your edges first, then work the middle. Okay? So first times first is which piece? That's going to be this piece right here, x times x. Then last times last is going to be 20. And if I make my MA chart, we're multiplying to be what? 20, but adding to be 9. So let's think. Give me things that multiply to be 20. So you could do 20 and 1. I'm playing silly because I know some of you already know it. You could do 2 and 10. You could do 4 and 5. Okay? When you add 20 and 1, you get, that doesn't work. When you add 2 and 10, you get 12. That doesn't work. But when you add 4 and 5, you get 9. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner. Chicken dinner. That's the one you want. So all you got to do is fill in what? Plus 4 and plus 5. Okay? And those are your factors. What's one of the factors? X plus 4. What's the other factor? Would it matter if I put the 5 in the front one and the 4 in the back one? No. What property says that x plus 4 times x plus 5 is the exact same thing as x plus 5 times x plus 4? Commutative property. Commutative. Commutative property says 3 times 4, same thing 4 times 3. It doesn't matter what order you multiply them in. Okay? So it would be okay to switch them as long as their signs are correct. So let's check. Always got to check. The more you check, the better you're going to be at this. Okay? Because it's not, everybody says, this is it? This is easy. Well, I hadn't thrown in the negative signs, and I hadn't thrown in, you know, as it gets a little bit bigger, a little bit more complicated. So, x times x, x squared, x times 5, 5x, 4 times x, 4x, and then 4 times 5 is 20, and then you can add these and make plus 9x in the middle.
So, you have to go down to the stuff right there.
This right here, the check step, here's what I'm going to tell you. If I recommend to you, please check. How many of you will not check?
I mean, if you recommend that,
No, you won't.
no, I didn't do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Here's what I will tell you. Okay, on quizzes and tests, I treat it like the SOL. I cannot make you check. Okay, like on the SOL, I can't tell you to show your work. I can recommend it. I can beg you. Show your work. You know that when y'all show your work and go step by step, y'all do really well. And when you don't show work, it may not be very good. Okay? But here's what I will say on classwork that we are doing. So when we get our classwork today, no check, half credit. Okay? You get, because think about it now. We get half the credit for breaking it apart, correct? If I'm a club stacker and they're timing me, like, I don't get any credit unless I do what? Put it back together. Okay, so you get half for breaking it down, you get half for putting it back together. Okay. All right. So I want you to try this one on your own. Okay, grab your calculators. So here we go. Let's talk about how to make this MA chart. Okay, first of all, what are we multiplying to be? 36. What are we adding to be? 13. So now, but let me show you. Does anybody like you don't know how to get these numbers right here?
I don't know.
Okay. Put in your calculators 36 divided by 1. What do you get? So if it goes in evenly, you know it's 1 and 36. You put your factors. Okay. Then you do 36 divided by 2. So you got 2 and 18. Then you put in 36 divided by 3. So then you have 3 and 12. And you keep going. 36 divided by 4 is 4 and 9. 36 divided by 5, you'll get a decimal. So that one don't work. 36 divided by 6 is 6 and 6. And when you reach, you see like 1 and 36, 2 and 18, like when you reach the middle, you know you're done. You know you've gotten all of them. Does that make sense? So as this one gets lower and as this one gets higher, when they meet, then you know you're done. Like if you went to 7, it wouldn't work. If you went to 8, it wouldn't work. If you went to 9, you'd already have that. It'd be 9 and 4. Does that make sense? So you know you got them all. So then we just add them. And we find which one gives us 13. So this will be 37. No. That would be 20. No. That would be 15. No. Ooh, winner, winner? Chicken dinner. So then, this breaks into two binomials. So x times x, and then we're just going to put in plus 4 plus 9. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, so for time purposes, are you okay if I don't check this one? Okay. Do you know how to FOIL it? Do you know how to check? All right. What's different? So listen to me. Let's make our MA chart. Okay? And let's talk about this. What are we multiplying to be?
24.
And you got to be specific when you get into your signs. Positive 24. Okay? What are we adding to be? Negative 11. So listen to me. Okay? Everybody listen to me. What times what signs will multiply to be a positive? Either a positive positive or a negative negative. So my question is, when I add two positives, what are you going to get? A positive. But when you add two negatives, what will you get? A negative. So what do you think your signs need to be? It's either going to be two positives or two negatives, because that's what gets you the positive. So I think you're going to want a negative times a negative. You understand that? Okay, so come up with some factors for me. 24 divided by 1 is 24 and 1. And so actually you want negative 24 and negative 1, correct? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay? What else do we have? What's 24 divided by 2? Negative 2 and negative 12. Okay? What's the next one?
3 and 8.
Negative 3, negative 8. Okay? And everybody says that's what you want because that's going to add to be negative 11. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? And when your signs get confusing, here's where checking comes majorly into play. So this would be x and x and what and what? Minus 3 and minus 8. Okay? You're going to have to check this, guys, because number one mistake is we confuse our signs. Okay? So you're going to have to check this. And the more you check, the faster it'll go, the better you'll get at it. Okay? X times x. X squared. X times negative 8. Negative 8x. Negative 3 times x. Negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 8. Positive 24. And then when you add these, you get negative 11 in the middle. Any questions on that? All right, so you try that one. All right, here we go. Let's do our MA chart. Yeah. Okay, so what are we multiplying to be? Positive 9. What are you adding to be? Negative 10. Now, let's think about this, okay? So to get a positive 9, I know you're screaming 9 and 1, right? So if I did positive 9 and positive 1, everybody agree? Positive times a positive is a positive? But if I add those, what am I going to get? Positive 10. I don't want that. So what else can multiply to be a positive? You could do a negative 9 and a negative 1. Okay? So that, and you can try it in your calculators, like sit there and take negative 9 plus negative 1 and see if that gives you negative 10. it will give you negative 10. So that's what you want. Okay? So then we say we don't know what to do. Okay? Trinomials break into two binomials. Okay? Two binomials every time. And then you start saying, don't look at the whole thing. When you look at the whole thing, like if I just throw a 500-piece puzzle in your lap, it's pretty overwhelming, is it not? Like, what do? Someone said it. You take one piece at a time. So where do we start? We start on our edges. Start with t squared. T times t. Notice I put a little curl on my t's so that they don't look like plus signs. Okay? And then last times last is going to be 9. And we already know by our chart that we want negative 9, negative 1. Okay? And then there's your answer. What's one factor? T minus 9. And the other factor is t minus 1. And someone said, well, don't I need to put, listen, someone said, don't I need to put like some sort of t to get a 10t? But if you FOIL it, this is where check-in is going to come back into play. The middle will work itself out. Okay? T times t is t squared. T times negative 1 is negative 1t. Negative 9 times t is negative 9t. Negative 9 times negative 1 is positive 9. So when you add negative 1t and negative 9t, that's where you get negative 10t. It will work itself out. Okay? All right? So this one's different. Well, I got to show you all the different ways because it gets confusing.
Signs are different, that's it.
Okay, so let's think about it. What are we multiplying to be?
Negative 48. You're adding to be
Positive 13. So think about this. Everybody think for just a second. What signs do you need to multiply to be a negative?
positive and a negative.
One positive and one negative. Okay? So, well, I'm going to pause it and let you think about it. I want you to start listening. I'll give you a hint. Okay? So if we did 48 divided by 1, you would get what? 48 and 1, but what do you need to do down here? One of them needs to be positive, one needs to be negative. So you could do 48 and negative 1, or you could do negative 48 and positive 1. Okay? And if you did 48 divided by 2, it would be 2 and 24. So you could do positive 24 and negative 2, or you could do negative 24 and positive 2. Okay? So let me just give you a second. Question, or you got it? Question. Very good. Good, good, good. So go ahead. Yes. So she said, wouldn't you want the biggest number to be positive so that, remember, you take the sign of the larger number? So we want a positive 13 in the middle. So, and I agree with you. That's smart thinking on your part. That you're going to want, so obviously you're not going to want this one. You're going to want the larger number to be positive. Okay? So obviously you wouldn't want that one. But if you don't understand that, you need to try all your options. One's positive, one's negative. Okay, so here we go. So let me go ahead and just add what we got. So if I added 48 and negative 1, what do you get? I get 47. So here's my question. Are you actually adding to be the middle? Are you actually adding those two numbers? You're actually subtracting them, right? When you have two different signs, you subtract and take the sign of the higher. Does that make sense? Okay. I still sing, do I have any Stewart kids in here? What's the song? When you add a positive, you get a positive. When you add a negative. Anyway, okay. Y'all don't know that song? Okay, never mind then. All right. They always come in. There's like a little plus and minus on here, but 24 plus negative 2 will give you 22.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. So then when you do 48 divided by 3, you get 16 and negative 3. And when you add them, you get 13, a positive 13. And that's what you want. Okay? So we're going to break it into 2. So this would be y times y and what and what? Plus 16 and minus 3. Okay? Any questions on that? I caution you, someone said, well, how come you didn't know to do like negative 16 and positive 3? If you added those, what would you get?
Negative.
You get a negative 13. So here's my thing. If you get really, really close and you get the right number, just the wrong sign, what does that say? Just switch your signs. You got your signs backwards. Okay? So, try it out and then get the one that works. Okay? So let's just do a couple more. I think y'all have gotten the hang of this. Let's do a couple more and see what you can do. So do this one on your own. All right, what are we multiplying to be? Negative 24. What are we adding to be? Negative 2. What do our signs need to be to get a negative?
Negative and a positive.
One negative, one positive. I said that backwards, but that's okay. Okay, so here we go. 24 divided by 1 is 24 and 1. Now, let's listen. Shakira tried to give us a very good heads up. She said your middle number the sign of that needs to be the largest number. So look at what we're trying to get. We're trying to get a negative. So when I have 24 and 1, which one do I want to be negative? The big one. So we want negative 24, positive 1. Okay, 24 divided by 2 is 2 and 12. Which one do I want to be negative? Negative 12, positive 2. You want the bigger one to carry the middle sign. Always. So if the middle sign's positive, you want the bigger one to be positive. If the middle sign's negative, you want the bigger one to be negative. That's kind of a helpful hint to you. Okay? 24 divided by 3 is 8 and 3. So which one do you want to be negative? Negative 8, positive 3. 24 divided by 4. So negative 6, positive 4. Okay? So then, add them together. This will give you what? Negative 23. This will give you negative 10. This will give you negative 5. No. This will give you winner, winner, chicken dinner. So R times R, and then we're going to fill in a negative 6 and a positive 4. What's the number one mistake? The number one mistake is they do this. R and R, plus and minus, and they fill in a 6 and a 4. Is that the same thing? No, that would give you what? Positive 6 and negative 4 would give you positive 2. Okay? So it's okay if they're reversed. Listen, last thing I'm going to say. It's okay if they're reversed, but if I reverse it, what will it have to say? R plus 4. It's got to be a positive 4. And R minus 6. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, I'm going to stop there for today.